Since the beginning of history, man tried to reach the stars. But it was not until 1961 when Yuri Gagarin was the first man to reach the stars. But it was not until 2 years later when in June 16, 1963, Valentina Tereshkova was the first woman to reach the stars. Welcome, spacemen and spacewomen. I'm Andrew, and we're gonna talk about Valentina Tereshkova's aerospace career. But why go to the stars? To answer this question, we have to revise the Cold War, a period that began shortly after the Second World War in 1945 and finished with extinction of the Soviet Union in 1991. This is a revision of the historical period of strategic disputes and indirect conflicts between the United States and the Soviet Union for political, economic, and military hegemony in the world. On one hand, we have American capitalism and its democratic political system, and on the other hand, we have the Soviet communists under the authoritarian government of Stalin since 1920. These two superpowers sought to expand their areas of influence in the world, intervening directly and indirectly in internal affairs of different countries. For strategic economic matters, the United States applied the Marshall Plan, and the Soviet Union applied Council for Mutual Economic Assistance, CMEA. For military plans, the United States reached the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, and the Soviet Union organized the Warsaw Pact. They were also involved in indirect wars like Korea's War and Vietnam War. They were involved in ballistic competition and obviously a space race. The space race started with the launch of the Soviet satellite Sputnik, which received and transmitted radio signals. The first living being to enter orbit was the dog named Laika. The dog Laika died born after an error with the cooling system. The strategy of the Soviets caught the attention of the Americans, who woke up, creating their first invention the following year, Explorer 1, which was launched in the year of 1958, inserting the Americans into the race. By the time the Americans sent Explorer 1, the Soviets already had another project, the Vostok 1, which had on board Yuri Gagarin, the first man that would enter space and come back safely. Space was not the limit. The American President John F. Kennedy wanted the moon as a place to be reached, and more, he wanted Americans to step on it. After Kennedy's speech in 1961, competing in the space race, and after Gagarin's accomplishment of Vostok 2, in the Soviet Union, several women rode to Moscow requiring spaceflight training, females that had flying experience, and force majors. Women such as Sokola and Marina Popovicha were characters that were rejected. According to records on Great Lives from History, the 20th Century, Gorman 2008, Khrushchev decided that the woman selected to fly into space would not be an elite, highly trained specialist, but rather an ordinary factory worker. He wanted to demonstrate that any woman could fly into space under socialism. That is how, secretly, 5 selected trainees, Tatiana Kuznetsova, Valentina Ponomareva, Irene Solovjeva, Zana Yorkina, and Valentina Tereshkova, were reported to training camps. In other words, the socialism were looking for some profiles that would be good for propaganda. A propaganda that would spread not only in Europe, but that would spread in international eyes. Out of the 5 trainees, Valentina Tereshkova was the one who was selected. Of course, there are some rumors that it may have been due to the romantic relationship with one of the male, but what really stands out is the fact that, unlike Gagarin's speech upon arrival of the Earth, who said that his space experience was mainly due to the socialism effort, Tereshkova said, "My out-of-space experience shows that the organism of a woman can cope with all space flight factors, no worse than of a man. And additionally, she mentioned that as men, the selected female candidates were tested physically and emotionally, which resulted successful in Tereshkova's experience. In the same interview, she said, "In view of the results of these tests, I don't think it is right that women are much more emotional and sociable than men, that they are psychologically more unstable, and bear isolation from the outside world and silence much worse than men. I personally did not observe a difference between the sexes." In general, Tereshkova would use her international fame to go to all countries and talk not only about her space experience, but also talk about how women can face these obstacles as well as men. It is well known that through history, many women fear, others resign to themselves to overcome social obstacles, frustrations, sorrow, or submissively accept their destiny. But some, given the opportunity or making her own, did react and protest to benefit future social equality, especially feminism. That is how Tereshkova's achievement, being the first woman in space, stands as a motivating inheritance on its own. Her record space flight created and demonstrated two practical benefits: that any healthy person, not just a man, will, with correct training, stand up to the strains of launch, weightlessness, and return to Earth with not having an extremely skilled background, and that she, the first Voyager who would become political and social active, predominantly preaching equality for women. Currently, because of their sex, females face an equal representation of power and influence. Stories like Tereshkova's are like inspirations that illuminate and color the past, influence the present, and help us build a more supportive future in a new and liberating humanity. Thank you.